There are 7 specific, dangerous places that will destroy your future if you don't walk away from them immediately. Most men spend their entire lives trapped in these environments, wondering why they never made it. They are blind to the fact that the very rooms they feel safe in are the ones that are killing them. The most dangerous people in your life don't carry knives, they carry friendship. Machiavelli warned that a man's ruin rarely comes from his enemies, it comes from the places he feels most comfortable. You think you're hanging out, you think you're networking, you think you're just catching up with old friends. You're wrong. You are walking into a social minefield every single day, and you don't even see the tripwires. Machiavelli understood that the fastest way to destroy a man isn't to attack him, it's to put him in a place where his ambition goes to sleep. There are certain rooms, certain circles, and certain conversations that are designed to keep you small, keep you broke, and keep you weak. Most men walk right into these traps with a smile on their face, wondering why their life feels like it's stuck in the mud. Think about the last time you sat in a circle of friends and vented about your struggles. You felt a sense of relief, didn't you? That wasn't peace. That was the smell of your power leaving your body. You didn't get a solution. You got a sedative. You traded your dominance for a moment of sympathy, and everyone in that room saw your price. In this world, there are 7 zones of death that will strip you of your power, leak your secrets to your enemies, and turn your iron will into soft glass. If you are in one of these circles right now, you aren't relaxing, you are being harvested. Your energy is being drained, your edge is being blunted, and the people you call friends are the ones holding the knife. Today, I am exposing these 7 dangerous places. I'm going to show you why the shoulder to cry on is actually a knife in your back, and why being the big fish in your current pond is a slow-motion suicide. We are starting with the most addictive trap of all, the place where most men go to die before they are even buried. If you value your future, do not look away. The first place you must burn to the ground is this. 1. The sympathy circle. You might know it as the group chat, where everyone complains about their boss, the bar where you meet to talk about how unfair the world is, or the dinner table where you vent about your struggling business. This is the most addictive and destructive place a man can inhabit. It is a circle where the primary currency is shared trauma, complaints, and excuses. Think about your Friday nights. Think about that group chat you check every morning. What is the topic of conversation? Is it about expansion? Is it about strategy? Or is it a collective session of venting about how the world is unfair, how the boss is a jerk, or how the economy is rigged? You think you are finding comfort here. You think you are getting things off your chest. But Machiavelli understood something you don't. Pity is a drug, and like any drug, it feels good while it's killing you. Every time you open your mouth to complain to this circle, you are leaking power. You are showing everyone in the room exactly where you are weak, where you are hurting, and where you are vulnerable. You think they are listening to help you? They aren't. They are listening to feel better about their own failures. When you tell a friend about your struggle and they nod and say, "I know, man, it's tough out there," they aren't supporting you. They are validating your mediocrity. They are giving you permission to stay exactly where you are. They want you to stay in the dirt with them, because if you ever actually pulled yourself out and succeeded, your existence would become a constant reminder of their own cowardice. In the house of pity, no one wants to see a winner. They want to see a fellow victim who makes their own lack of effort feel justified. Look at the faces in that circle. They aren't the faces of hunters. They are the faces of a herd huddled together for warmth, while the wolves circle outside. Every time you participate in this venting, you are training your brain to seek pity points instead of power. You are learning to value the relief of being heard over the results of being respected. A man who is comfortable being pitied can never be feared, and a man who is not feared will never be truly sovereign. The danger of this place is that it feels moral, it feels human. We are told that being vulnerable is a strength. That is a lie manufactured by people who want to keep you manageable. In the world of power, vulnerability is a map for your enemies. In the house of pity, you are handing that map out for free. You are telling everyone around you, here is how you can break me. Here is what I'm afraid of. Here is why I'm not moving forward. You have to realize that every conversation you have is either a negotiation or an admission of defeat. If you aren't talking about how to gain leverage, you are likely admitting that you have none. When you sit in this circle and recount your losses, you are cementing your status as a loser. You are teaching your social circle to view you as a liability. They might smile, they might offer a shoulder, but they are internally categorizing you as someone who is beneath them. They are enjoying the charity of their own attention. This environment blunts your edge. It turns your iron will into soft glass. You start to think that at least I have my friends is a valid substitute for I have achieved my goals. It isn't. Your friends in this circle will be the first ones to disappear when you actually need something that requires effort on their part. They are only there for the shared misery. The sympathy circle is a graveyard for ambition. It is where men go to bury their dreams under a pile of mutual understanding. If you stay here, you will die a quiet, comfortable death, surrounded by people who will weep at your funeral because they're glad it's you in the box and not them. You are being harvested for your attention and your shared defeat. If you want to survive, you must realize that you don't need a shoulder to cry on. You need a strategy to win. You don't need understanding. You need results. The relief you feel when you vent is actually the feeling of your drive escaping your body. It is the sound of your competitive spirit being smothered by a pillow. Walk away from the venting sessions. Leave the group chats that focus on what's wrong instead of what's next. Stop looking for people who get it and start looking for people who do it. The house of pity is warm, it's inviting, and it's a death trap. Every second you spend there is a second you are giving the vultures permission to keep circling. This is the first gate. It's the easiest trap to fall into because it feels like home. But if you don't have the stomach to leave the people who comfort you in your failure, you will never have the strength to stand among the people who challenge you to win. You are being domesticated by your own social circle. You are becoming a house pet in a world that requires a wolf. Break the circle. Kill the need for pity. Realize that the silence of your struggle is the foundation of your future strength. If you stay in the house of pity, you are already buried. The only question is how much more dirt you're going to let them throw on top of you before you finally stop breathing. The sympathy circle is just the beginning. It's the place that kills your spirit. But the next two locations, they don't just kill your spirit, they steal your identity. They make you believe you're winning while you're actually being used as a prop for someone else's ego. We are moving deeper into the killing fields. If you thought the house of pity was dangerous, you aren't ready for the table of unearned respect. You've escaped the warmth of the herd, but now you're walking into something far more deceptive. Most men spend their lives chasing a seat at a high-status table, thinking that proximity to power is the same thing as possessing it. This brings us to the second killing field. 2. The table of unearned respect. You've finally made it. You're in the room with the movers, the shakers, and the men you used to watch from a distance. You're sitting at a table where the wine costs more than your monthly rent, and for the first time in your life, you feel like you belong. They are being polite. They are laughing at your jokes. They are asking for your opinion on things that don't matter. You feel a surge of pride, thinking you've skipped the line and found a shortcut to the top. But Machiavelli would look at you and see a fool. You are currently standing in one of the most lethal psychological traps ever devised. The table of unearned respect. Think about the last time you were invited somewhere exclusive. Maybe it was a high-level networking event, a VIP section, or a dinner with men who are 5 levels above you. You felt a rush of pride. You felt like you had finally arrived. You sat there nodding along, laughing at their jokes, and feeling like one of the boys, but Machiavelli would look at you and see a mascot. This is the table of unearned respect. You are in the room, but you aren't a player. You are being civilized and domesticated by men who don't see you as a peer, but as a spectator. They like having you there because your presence validates their status. You are the nice guy they keep around to feel benevolent. But make no mistake, the moment the check comes or a real decision needs to be made, you will realize you have zero leverage. The danger here is that this place kills your hunger. It gives you the illusion of success without any of the substance. You start to dress like them, talk like them, and act like them, but your bank account and your actual influence haven't moved an inch. You become a parasite of prestige. You are so busy enjoying the unearned respect of being in the room that you stop doing the brutal work required to actually own the room. You are being used as a prop for their egos, and while you're busy feeling honored, they are busy making sure you stay exactly where you are, one step behind. But there is a trap that is even more seductive, because it feeds your ego instead of your insecurity. 3. This is the echo chamber of low-level winners. This is the environment where you are the big fish in a small, stagnant pond. You are the most successful guy in your high school friend group. You're the smartest guy in your local office. You're the one everyone comes to for advice, because compared to them, you're killing it. You feel like a king. You feel untouchable. This is the most dangerous form of security. Machiavelli warned that this is where princes go to die. When your ego is fed by people who are beneath you, you stop evolving. You stop sharpening your blade because there's nothing left to cut. You start to believe your own hype. You look around the room and see people looking up at you, and you think, I've made it. But making it in a room full of losers is just a slower way to fail. The people in this echo chamber don't challenge you, they applaud you. They don't push you to grow, they tell you how great you already are. Why? Because as long as you stay at the top of their small pond, they have a successful friend they can brag about. But the second you try to jump into a bigger ocean, the second you try to compete with real predators, you will realize how soft you've become. If you are the smartest person in the room, you are in the wrong room. You are currently in a place that is rotting your ambition from the inside out. You have traded the discomfort of growth for the comfort of being worshipped by the mediocre. You are winning by a standard that doesn't matter. While you're enjoying the view from the top of your small hill, the men in the real mountains are looking down at you and laughing. These two places, the table where you're a mascot and the pond where you're a king, are designed to make you stay still. They use your own ego as a leash. One makes you a servant to the powerful, and the other makes you a prisoner of the weak. In both scenarios, you are not sovereign. You are a character in someone else's story. You have to be willing to be the nobody in a room full of giants, rather than the hero in a room full of children. You have to be willing to give up the fake respect of the high-status table and the hollow applause of the low-level winners. If you don't, you will spend the rest of your life as a local legend or a VIP spectator, never realizing that you were actually a casualty of your own need for approval. The walls of these traps are made of gold and praise, but they are still walls. And as we move forward, the traps stop being about your ego and start being about your survival. We are moving toward the vampires of your life, the environments that don't just stall your progress, but actively bleed you dry. 4. The sunken cost relationship, the dead weight. You are currently pouring your life's blood into a ghost. You are staying in a room, a business, or a relationship that died 3 years ago, and the only reason you haven't left is because of how much you've already lost. This is the sunken cost relationship, and it is a psychological black hole. Machiavelli observed that most men are destroyed not by a single catastrophic mistake, but by their inability to cut their losses. You tell yourself that you're being loyal. You tell yourself that you're a fighter who doesn't give up. But there is a very fine line between perseverance and slow-motion suicide. In this place, you aren't fighting for a future. You are mourning a past. You are staying with a partner who disrespects your vision, or a business partner who drains your resources, or a social circle that demands your constant attention but offers no leverage. Why do you stay? Because your ego cannot handle the fact that the last 5 years were a waste. You feel that if you walk away now, you are admitting defeat. So you double down. You spend another year trying to fix something that is fundamentally broken. You try to communicate with people who don't speak your language. You try to rebuild on a foundation of sand. Every hour you spend in this environment is an hour you are stealing from the man you are supposed to become. Understand this. The time you have already spent is gone. It is a spent currency. It has no value in the present moment. The only question that matters is whether the next hour is going to yield a return. If the answer is no, and you stay anyway, you are no longer a strategist. You are a victim. You are standing in a burning building because you're upset about how much you spent on the furniture. This place is a vampire for your sovereign mask. It forces you to be reactive. It keeps you in a state of constant emotional repair. You cannot maintain a cold, predatory focus on your empire when you are constantly leaking energy into a sunken cost. Power requires the ability to be ruthless with your own history. You must be able to look at a 5-year investment, realize it's a dead end, and walk away without looking back. If you cannot do that, you are not in control of your life. Your past is. The world is full of men who are holding on to things that are dragging them to the bottom of the ocean. They are afraid of the void, the silence that comes after you cut the cord. They would rather be in a room full of conflict and stagnation than be alone in a room full of potential. But it is only in that void that the sovereign is born. You must be willing to burn the bridge while you're still standing on it, if that bridge leads to a graveyard. 5. The stage of false status. The debt trap. This leads us directly into the most visible trap of the modern age, the stage of false status. This is the place where you perform a life you haven't earned for people who don't actually like you. It is the social circle that requires a specific car, a specific watch, and a specific lifestyle to remain a member. This is not a social outlet. It is a debt trap. You are buying the appearance of power at the absolute cost of the substance of power. Machiavelli warned that a prince who spends lavishly to maintain an image eventually exhausts his resources and must become predatory toward his own people to survive. In your life, that predator is your debt, and your people are your future years of freedom. When you enter this place, you are a slave wearing a gold-plated chain. You are terrified of being found out. You are terrified that if you stop spending, stop performing, and stop showing off, you will lose your seat at the table. And you're right, you will, because that table is built on sand. The people there don't respect you. They respect the shadow you're casting. The moment you stop feeding the light, the shadow disappears, and so do they. In this environment, your sovereign mask is a fake. It's not a tool for control, it's a mask for your insecurity. You are trading your liquid capital, the very thing you need to build real, unshakable power, for temporary social validation. You are sacrificing your long-term leverage for a short-term vibe. This is a losing trade every single time. Think about the psychological pressure of this place. You can't be honest about your struggles because that would break the illusion. You can't take risks because you're one bad month away from the repo man taking your status away. You are trapped in a cycle of maintenance. You aren't building an empire, you're managing a stage set. A real man of power would rather live in a basement with $1 million in leverage than in a mansion with $1 million in debt. The stage of false status kills your ability to take a hit because you are so over-leveraged for the sake of your image. Any minor setback becomes a catastrophe. You become desperate. You start making weak moves. You start begging for opportunities instead of commanding them. You become the very thing we told you to never appear as desperate. You have to learn the art of the clean break. You have to be willing to look at a decade of your life and say, that was a lesson, not a life sentence, and walk away without a single backward glance. The void you are so afraid of, the loneliness that comes after leaving, is actually the only place where true growth can happen. It is the clearing in the forest where you can finally see the sky, but you will never reach that clearing as long as you are clinging to a rotting tree. This is the place where your sovereign mask is tested the most. It's easy to be cold to an enemy. It's incredibly difficult to be cold to a memory. But if that memory is currently standing in the way of your future, it must be executed. You cannot build a new empire on top of a crumbling foundation. You must have the stomach to raise it to the ground. Most men will watch this and think of one specific person or one specific group. they will feel a pang of guilt or a rush of excuses. If that's you, then you are currently standing in the trap. You are currently being drained of your potential. You are currently choosing a slow, agonizing social death over a quick surgical exit. In the game of power, the only thing worse than a mistake is a mistake you refuse to correct. Walk away from the dead weight, not tomorrow, not after one last talk, now. The place you are keeping for them is the very thing preventing the place you want for yourself from existing. We have handled the weight of the past. Now we must handle the weight of the image. The next two places are where your ego takes the wheel and drives you straight into a ditch of debt and irrelevance. We are moving into the stage of false status and the arena of the middle ground. If you thought your heart was the problem, wait until you see what your pride is doing to your bank account. 5. The stage of false status, the debt trap. You are currently performing a play for an audience that doesn't even like you. This is the fifth dangerous place, the stage of false status. It is a social environment that functions like a high-interest loan on your soul. You know this place. It's the VIP section you can't afford, the designer clothing you bought to look the part while your bank account is screaming, and the social circles that require a high entry fee just to be seen with people who are just as broke and desperate as you are. Machiavelli understood that the appearance of power is a tool, but only if it is backed by the substance of power. When you spend money you haven't earned to impress people you haven't conquered, you aren't a prince, you are a court jester. You are standing in a room built of cardboard and gold leaf, terrified that a single breeze of reality will blow the whole thing down. This place is a trap because it forces you into a state of permanent defensive performance. You cannot take risks, you cannot be honest about your situation, and you cannot pivot your strategy because you are too busy maintaining the image of success. The harsh truth is that looking rich is the fastest way to stay poor. In this place, your status is tied to your consumption rather than your production. You are being harvested by the system and by your peers. They want you to keep spending because your debt makes them feel superior. Every time you buy a round of drinks you shouldn't have, or upgrade a car to match the circle, you are handing over your leverage. You are trading your future freedom for a temporary seat at a table of pretenders. Machiavelli warned that a man who lives beyond his means is eventually forced to become predatory or pathetic. On the stage of false status, you are both. You are a slave wearing a gold-plated chain, and the worst part is, you're the one who paid for the lock. 6. The arena of the middle ground, the neutral zone. If you survived the debt trap, you likely ran into the most deceptive place of all, the arena of the middle ground. This is the place where you try to stay neutral during a conflict, the meeting where you try to make everyone happy, and the social circle where you refuse to take a side to avoid being the bad guy. You think you're being tactical, you think you're being the bigger man, you think you're keeping your options open. You're wrong. In the world of power, the middle ground is the most dangerous place to stand because it's where all the crossfire lands. Machiavelli was brutal on this point. He stated that neutrality is the refuge of the weak. When you refuse to take a side, you lose the respect of the winner and the trust of the loser. You end up alone with no allies and a reputation for being a fence-sitter who cannot be trusted when the pressure is on. Think about your daily interactions. How many times have you suppressed your true opinion just to keep the peace? How many times have you stayed friends with two people who are at war with each other, thinking you can mediate? You aren't mediating, you're becoming a target for both. By standing in the middle, you are signaling that you have no core, no convictions, and no skin in the game. You are a ghost in a room full of soldiers. The arena of the middle ground is where good men go to be forgotten. It feels safe because you aren't fighting, but you're actually dying of 1,000 small cuts. You are bypassed for promotions, left out of the real inner circles, and ignored when the high-stakes decisions are being made. Why? Because no one knows where you stand. And if no one knows where you stand, they can't rely on you, and they certainly won't fear you. You have created a place for yourself that is defined by your absence of character. You are being harvested for your compliance. The people on the extremes use you as a buffer, and when they are done with you, they will both discard you. To be sovereign, you must be willing to be polarizing. You must be willing to walk out of the neutral zone and plant your flag. It is far better to be hated by half the room and respected by the other half than to be vaguely liked by everyone while being taken seriously by no one. We have stripped away the illusions of status and the safety of neutrality. We have exposed the traps that eat your money and the traps that eat your reputation. Now we are approaching the final, most lethal gate. It is the place that knows your name, your history, and your deepest insecurities. It is the place that will try to kill the king before he can even put on the crown. We are going back to the beginning to ensure there is no going back. 7. The ghost of your hometown. The childhood shadow. You have survived the social killing fields and the traps of your own ego. But now you face the final gate. This is the place that knows your name, your history, and every insecurity you've ever tried to hide. It is the most lethal trap of all, the ghost of your hometown. This isn't just a physical location on a map. It is the social circle of people who knew you before you decided to become a king. It's the old high school friends, the extended family members, and the day ones who still see you as the version of yourself that was easy to manage. Machiavelli understood that a prophet is never recognized in his own land, but he went further. He knew that those who knew you when you were weak will always have a psychological anchor on your soul. They don't want you to change because your evolution is an indictment of their own stagnation. To them, your growth isn't inspiring, it's an insult. When you return to this place, whether physically or through the digital tether of social media, you are stepping back into a cage. These people will constantly try to pull you back to the old version of yourself. They will bring up your old mistakes, use your childhood nicknames, and remind you of where you came from whenever you start to display real power. They aren't doing this to keep you grounded, they are doing it to keep you level with them. You cannot wear the sovereign mask in a room full of people who remember you as a servant. To truly ascend, you must be willing to become a stranger to those who no longer serve your mission. You must realize that the price of your new life is the death of your old one. If you refuse to kill the ghost of your hometown, it will eventually haunt your empire until it crumbles. The truth is, you have been standing in these 7 dangerous places because you were afraid of the cold. You chose the warmth of the herd, the comfort of the middle ground, and the safety of your hometown because you didn't think you could survive the silence of absolute sovereignty. But by now, that avoidance has collapsed. You see the tripwires, you smell the sedatives in the air, you realize that the safe rooms you've been sitting in are actually the places where your potential was being systematically dismantled. Understanding is no longer enough. From this moment forward, every social interaction you have must be a tactical choice. Every room you enter must be a place where you are either gaining leverage or sharpening your blade. If it is neither, you are the prey. There is no middle ground. There is no just hanging out. There is only the hunt and the harvested. You have been exposed to the mechanics of your own stagnation, and to go back to your old circles now is not an accident, it is a choice to fail. If this realization has hit you with the force of a gut punch, then you are exactly where you need to be. Align yourself with this mindset. Like this video to signal that you have identified the traps in your own life. Subscribe to this channel to ensure you never lose your edge. This is not a favor to me, it is a commitment to the continuation of your own journey. We are building a brotherhood of men who refuse to be domesticated by the places society has designed for them. For those among you who recognize that the surface-level truth is not enough, I am inviting you to secure your position in the inner circle. Join the membership. This is the space for the sovereign few who want deeper insight, stronger tactical control, and access to protocols that are too dangerous for the public algorithm. Inside, we don't just identify the traps, we build the empires that replace them. It is the difference between watching the game and owning the field. The door is open for the disciplined, but the seats are limited. You can stay outside with the herd, or you can step into the room where the real decisions are made. I want to thank you for staying until the end. Most men checked out long ago because they couldn't handle the reflection in the mirror. Your attention and your discipline have been earned, and they are the only tools that will get you out of the killing fields alive. The fire is burning, the traps are set, but now you are the only one who knows where they are hidden. Go back out there, walk through the fire, and never let them see you shiver. I will see you applying what you have learned to reclaim your world. The mask is on. Stay cold.